The Megathrust 8.8 magnitude earthquake in Kamchatka, Russia, still keeps us holding our breath because on the one side, we still have these aftershocks. Can we still call them aftershocks? I mean, 2 days ago, a 6.1, just as we speak, another 5.1, and several of them every day. But we've also heard that the volcanoes are erupting, that this Megathrust earthquake has triggered a chain reaction of erupting volcanoes, or not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and potentially 4 more. But the earthquakes were traveling, and they were traveling towards the Kuril Island, and there's one island that has quadruple volcanoes on a secret Soviet military base. And they have already erupted in the past and are linked to a climate altering eruption 200 years ago. So what about those guys? We would be in deep shizzy if these volcanoes are triggered as well by these ongoing aftershocks. So 6 to 7 volcanoes have already erupted after the magnitude 8.8 megaquake, and more are probably to follow. We have Kamchatka erupted on July 30th, right after the earthquakes. And I have to say earthquakes because the megaquake came with so many fore and aftershocks. We have eruptions of nearby volcanoes, Shivilok, Benzimiani, Kaminsky, Avansky, Krashenikov, that soon followed after the earthquake. Krashenikov, after 600 years of doing nothing, was considered dormant. We know we have volcanoes if we have subduction zones. We do have that on the west coast, by the way. That is supposed to be due for the big one, the Cascadia earthquake, magnitude 9 plus. We do have all these volcanoes there. Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams, Mount Hood in Oregon, and so many more. So if that Megathrust earthquake there was about to happen, which I hope it won't because I'm sitting there, will we in addition face volcanic eruptions? In addition to a mega tsunami, by the way, that's supposed to be probably 100 feet, 30 meters tall, coming towards the west coast within only 8 to 15 minutes. But that's another story, guys. That's too scary for now. But that mysterious island is something that we need to have a closer look at. Simushir. Look at this island. There's a 2024 satellite photo that shows basically 4 end-to-end volcanoes that are equally or perfectly spaced out along this Russian island of Simushir. And one of these peaks was the site of a surprise eruption that temporarily cooled the northern hemisphere in 1831. And I'll show you the recent earthquake map in a second. So this is a satellite photo that really reveals a lot. Simushir, a little known island, I would say, a Russian island, former Soviet naval base, featuring 4 end-to-end volcanoes that are really in a surprisingly straight line how they are positioned on the island. And one of these 4 volcanoes was the site of one of the largest eruptions in recent recorded history. That is big, guys, and it has significantly altered the Earth's climate 200 years ago. So what if that was triggered again? We're worrying about Yellowstone, we're worrying about Campi Flegrei, and we should worry about Campi Flegrei, by the way. But Simushir, nobody was worrying about that one. It's one of the Kuril Islands, volcanic islands, that basically connect the Kamchatka Peninsula, if you want to say, with Japan. That is also rumbling like crazy. So it's a Russian-controlled archipelago of more than 50 volcanic islands, the Kuril Islands, in the North Pacific Ocean along the Pacific Ring of Fire. And like the rest of the Kuril Islands, the sovereignty of Simushir has been passed basically back and forth between Russia and nearby countries, Russia and Japan, several times over the last 400 years. And it was most recently used as a Soviet nuclear submarine base until 1994, but it's now uninhabited. The new nuclear submarine base is somewhere else, basically close to the recent Megathrust epicenter, and was damaged if you look at satellite pictures. Of course, Russia hasn't confirmed anything, but the satellite pictures clearly show that a dock has broken off. So Simushi Island is around 5 miles long only, like 8 kilometers, but hosts 4 major volcanoes, not just tiny cones. And the volcanoes can be clearly seen from space. So if we look at these towering structures from southeast to northwest, left to right, they're called Milna, Zavaritsky, Prevo, and Uratman. Milna is the tallest of the 4 with 5,050 feet. That's tall, guys, 1,540 meters. And it has last erupted in 1914. And then next to it lies Zavaritsky, also known as Zavaritskogo. Stands around 2,047 feet, 624 meters above sea level, and last blew its top off in 1957, and it has then left behind a little bit like Mount St. Helens, a largely hollowed out crater. Probably that's why they decided to not have nuclear submarines nearby on that island. And then Prevo, which is 4,460 feet tall, 1,360 meter, last erupted in 1825. And Uratman stands at 2,224 feet, that's 678 meters. That one shows no signs of having erupted within the last 12,000 years. And if you look at that aerial picture or the satellite picture, you see a deep lagoon that is known as Bruton Bay. That is surrounding the volcano, the Uratman volcano, and this is where the Soviets stored some of their nuclear submarines. Maybe not the best idea. And then there's a smaller 5th volcano on the island named Goryachia Sopka, which is located on the northeast flank of Milna, but it's indiscernible from the larger volcanoes in satellite pictures. And despite their class as different volcanoes, this tiny volcano and Milna are basically closely linked to one another. So Simushir and other Kuril Islands are hotspots for volcanic activity because of the Ring of Fire. This is this 25,000 mile, 40,000 kilometer long arc with subduction zones and volcanoes. And basically, they're all located above tectonic boundaries that are surrounding the outer edge of the Pacific plate. So this region contains about 2/3 of the world's terrestrial volcanoes and is the site of, even now they say, 90% of all the earthquakes that are happening in the world. And the big one happened on Simushir, the big volcanic eruption in 1831. The northern hemisphere's climate was cooled by an average of 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 degree Celsius. Doesn't sound like much, but has a big impact. And that time, that volcanic eruption coincided with reports of gloomy, bleak weather and the sun turning different colors because of all the particles in the air. We see this here in the US and Canada with the wildfire smoke. So scientists knew that a massive event has caused this strange phenomena. But which volcano was responsible? That has remained a mystery very, very long, until December 2024, guys. So that's just a few months ago. There was a new study that revealed. I have reported about this, but now you can put it in context where this is. Zawaritsky was the culprit after they have matched ash deposits in polar ice cores to the volcano. And now this is this dangerous zone where so much is going on right now. And I have to tell you, when they found out about this in 2024, this was really a surprise to the researchers, because there had been no prior evidence of any eruption on Simushir in 1831, likely due to its remote location, right? Lack of any potential witnesses that could have seen it on surrounding islands. The scientists said, we had no idea this volcano was responsible for this dramatic eruption. So the lead author of the new study, his name is William Hutchinson. He's a volcanologist of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. He previously said Zawaritsky was completely off the radar. Is it now again completely off the radar? That is the big question. Let's have a look at the latest earthquakes. So if you see that blue dot here, that is a 5.1 that happened on August 10th. And let me zoom in for you guys. Then you see, do you recognize this island? We just talked about this island. So some researchers said in the last 2 weeks since the Megathrust earthquake happened that the earthquakes would be traveling from the epicenter here further down here. And we also have another earthquake here that is magnitude, where is it? 5.2 today. So what we're seeing here is basically today's earthquakes. And you can see the subduction zones of the Pacific Ring of Fire. We have Japan here, and we have all these earthquakes here. So the problem would be if we see more earthquakes, and we do. There's another one, again, that is just today. There's another one, 4.9, that is also right here where the island is. Can that trigger one of these volcanoes on Simushir Island? Because the earthquakes have triggered quite a few volcanoes on the Kamchatka Peninsula here. So there's no reason why they couldn't trigger something here. And if Zawaritsky erupts again like it did with this mysterious eruption, she's hitting the fizzy, guys. I can tell you that. And I've sorted them now with largest magnitude first. So we even have a 5.2 here today. This is all today. 5.1 here, this is the one that concerns me. And 4.9 also in close proximity to this island. And then you can scroll down, right? There's a lot of these aftershocks still going on. And if we have a look at the list of all the earthquakes in the area since the magnitude 8.8 megathrust earthquake, it becomes clear, guys, we could see more volcanoes being triggered because these aftershocks are not in the range like magnitude 1 or 2. They're in high magnitudes. I mean, 2 days ago, 6.1, that stands out as a main shock. In Turkey, for example, that just happened and has flattened buildings. You can really, it's amazing how these buildings fell down in themselves, have reduced to just a piece of rubble. You can't even see that this was a house before. Massive, massive earthquake, guys. Check out the video in the end screen. There's so much, and very cute video about a massive landslide in India. But one 5-month-old dog with the name of Rocky has saved 67 lives, just seconds before the landslide buried the village. The story of this dog, it's heartwarming. Check it out in the end screen. Subscribe for more. Check out my start page for videos. Click on recent videos. There you see everything that's going on in the world, guys. This area around Kamchatka, I have a feeling will keep us busy for a while. So stay safe, guys. Click here. Then I see you in a second. Bye-bye.